Hey everyone, welcome back to Revenge by Larry. I'm really glad you're here today. Make sure you watch this story all the way to the end. And don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts. I read everyone. I was wide awake at the Alder and Stone Hotel, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the kind of sleep you don't get the night before your wedding. The wall to the next room was paper thin, and I heard laughter. My best man Keir Hollis and the rest of the groomsmen. Then I heard Clyde say, "Spill a heavy red on his tux during photos." Ashby followed with, "Pop a couple buttons, make it look like cheap tailoring." And then Beck, my college buddy, asked about the rings. Keir, like he was announcing a product, said, "I'll swap in fakes. Float the rumor he bought knockoffs. What's a museum carpenter gonna afford?" My name's Harlan Penner. I'm 32. Marin's 31. And in that moment, I stopped being tired. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. And let's continue. Sayer Quinn, the quiet one, said, "Is this too much?" But Keir talked over him like always. "It's not sabotage, it's clarity. Marin belongs with someone who thinks big." They kept going. Wrong song for the first dance. Aloud, "So did you make him sign a prenup?" During cake. A roast-style toast, making my job sound like a joke. Keir bragged that he'd been warming the room for weeks, texting Marin about old times, dropping little digs about me not being ambitious. Said people needed to see the difference between a guy like me and a man like him. I hit record on my phone and set it on the floor by the baseboard. They went on for 23 minutes. Names, voices, the whole plan. I didn't yell, didn't bang the wall. I just listened. The longer it went, the steadier I got. This was a move. I've seen this before. I grew up around guys who test your worth like it's a sport. This was that. Same cruelty, better shoes. At 5:40 a.m., I texted Inez Vega, the coordinator. "Emergency. My room. Coffee. No questions." She sent a thumbs up. That was enough. Then I opened a blank doc on my laptop and started a fresh timeline. Ceremony, kept, cast, changed. I looked at my screen and muttered, "Let's see how big you can think now." I knew what Keir was. He always led the charge, always pushed others forward, never took the hit himself. Not this time. I got up, shaved, put on the hotel robe, and stood by the door waiting for Inez. I opened the door and Inez Vega stepped in like a surgeon walking into a triage room. No makeup, dark blazer over a hotel t-shirt, coffee tray in one hand, and a leather folder in the other. She set the tray down, listened to the full audio with one AirPod, and didn't flinch. When it ended, she looked up and said, "What do you want to happen?" "New groomsmen by lunch, gatekeep the dress code, trap every single stunt they planned, and keep Marin out of it." Inez gave one nod, like she already had half of it in motion. "Then we start now." I called Jude first. My cousin lives in Ohio, rigs safety cables for museum installs. I didn't waste time. "You're my best man. Ceremony's at 6. Can you be here by noon?" He said, "Text me the suit sizes. I'm already dressed. I'll drive straight through." I sent 2 more texts before Inez finished her first cup. Wells Adair runs a microbrewery in northern Michigan, and Cormac Voss, shop teacher in southern Illinois. Both cousins. Both steady. I said, "Need you suited in here before lunch." Wells replied, "You got it, cousin." Cormac, "Wouldn't miss it. I'll bring tools." We weren't a flashy group, all in our 30s, nobody rich, but we showed up. That counted more than anything. Inez looped in Rowan Ellison, Marin's younger brother. Early 20s, always looking for a real job. "You serious?" he asked. "I need someone to run interference." He smiled. "I'm in." From there, it moved fast. We blocked off the delivery elevators just for us. Inez rewrote the ballroom call sheet and got the staff aligned. Nobody without a suit, tux, or venue uniform got within 50 feet of the main floor. By 8:15, she had a formal email from hotel admin stating a new policy. Backstage dress code effective immediately. I had the PDF in my inbox. Inez said, "Print it, tape it inside the ballroom door." I repacked the rings like I was guarding state secrets. Decoy A in the officiant's pouch, decoy B in my breast pocket. The real ones, white gold, brushed finish, engraved inside, taped inside a velvet pouch in my boot bag. Triple-checked the tape. I met Orrin Tate, the DJ, near the service stairwell. I handed him a blue USB with a clean playlist, labeled Harlan, Set A. He smirked. "You want a lockdown?" I nodded. "Hard lock. Kier might try to slide something in. Quarantine his alt file if it shows up." "Got it. It won't make the board." Mabel Knox showed next. Photographer with eyes sharper than half the security staff. I gave her the audio transcript. She flipped through, stopped at time codes. "You want faces when it happens?" "Yes, reactions, especially at the toast." She nodded and marked pages with Post-its. Said she'd bring extra batteries and 2 backups. Nobody's getting away from this one. Eulalie Ellison arrived after 9. Marin's mother, silver streak in her hair, button blouse, and a stare that could stop traffic. I played her 2 clips. She didn't blink. "I'll handle the hotel," she said. Then she pulled out her phone and called the general manager by first name. "We'll run this tight," she told me, and I believed her. I turned back to Inez. "We need them off-site for a few hours, something they won't refuse." She thought for a second, then grinned. Spa package, upper tier, deep heat reset, salt soak, guided stretch, heated stones, custom masks. "Make sure they go." She pulled out her phone. "I'll book the car too. Champagne in the back seat." I handed her the phone with the audio file still open. She pressed play again and took notes while she walked. I had one job left. Texted the groomsmen's assistant thread. "Gentlemen, early surprise for you. Full body reset at 11. My treat. You deserve it." Clyde responded first. "Absolutely. Needed that." Ashby. "Fancy pants move, Harlan. I dig it." Kier just gave a thumbs up. Always slick. Always pretending he wasn't watching the room. By the time I shut my laptop, Inez had a clipboard full of moving parts, and my cousins were halfway through Illinois. We didn't talk about revenge. We talked about clean lines, locked access, and backup plans. This wasn't payback. It was perimeter control. I sat with them at breakfast like nothing was off. My hands didn't shake. Kier slapped my back like we were still in college and said, "Mr. Museum, you ready to marry up today?" I smiled. "Got a little something planned for you guys first. Spa day on me. Relaxation before the chaos. Premium everything. You've earned it." Ashby raised his eyebrows. "Wow." Harlan went full groomzilla. "Just making sure the crew's sharp," I said, pouring my coffee like I wasn't baiting a trap. They bought it. Men don't question free champagne and a salt soak. By the time we finished the eggs, they were laughing about robes and steam rooms like it was a bachelor party do-over. Upstairs, my phone lit up like a control board. Jude. 90 minutes out. Cormac. Somewhere near Springfield. Wells. Passing a rest stop and asking if I preferred socks or no socks with dress shoes. Rowan was already there, pacing the corridor, tie balled in one hand, grinning like it was game day. Inez's assistant met Kier's crew in the lobby with envelopes and keys. "Car's waiting. Everything's covered. Just go enjoy," she said. Ashby held his envelope like it was concert tickets. "Don't let him elope while we're gone," he joked, jabbing a thumb back toward me. Kier didn't say anything, just smirked at the mirrored wall behind me like he was admiring the angle of his own face. Sayer lagged behind. Everyone else started toward the elevator. He looked at me, lower voice now. "Harlan, This is getting weird. I didn't blink. You still have time to do the right thing. He didn't answer, just nodded once and followed the group out. 10 minutes later, texts started coming into the coordinator thread. Yo, this place is across town. They gave us robes? Champagne fire. I didn't answer, just kept my hands moving, ironed a clean shirt, laid out boutonnieres, double-checked the decoy A-ring box, and slid it into the officiant's case. Inez had already labeled it with a gold sticker and the initials HP. There was a knock at the door. Marin stepped in, hair pinned up, sweats on, holding her day of prep clipboard. I told her a thin version. Kier's been angling. I've got it covered. She didn't ask how, just met my eyes and said, You take the logistics. I'll take the vows. That's how we worked. No dramatics, just split the load and moved forward. By late morning, the real team had arrived. Jude was in the corner adjusting cufflinks. No drama, just quiet presence. Wells practiced the walk with a bottle of water in hand, like it was a mic. Cormac spotted the loose hinge on the gift table and had it tightened in under 4 minutes. We didn't talk about the other guys. We didn't have to. Rowan leaned over and asked, Want me to talk to Kier when they get back? I shook my head. Let the hotel do the talking. I pulled out my phone and sent a final message to Sayer. If you step out, I'll cover you. No response. The bubble stayed empty. I tucked the phone away, checked my watch, and nodded to Jude. Let's move, I said. Inez didn't knock. She just came in and wheeled a metal clothing rack into the Magnolia prep suite like she was stocking props for a stage play. 5 tuxes hung there, all the same shade, somewhere between orange traffic cone and old mustard. Ruffled jabots puffed at the collar like a high school theater take on colonial cosplay. She flipped the tag on one and smirked. Fits the occasion. I slipped a folded note into the middle hanger, written in my own handwriting. Thought you'd want something with more edge. H. The hotel security memo hit inboxes a few minutes later. Inez read it out loud while sipping her third coffee. No robes past the mezzanine, no ballroom access without jacket and tie, no backstage entry without wristband clearance. Then she handed a stack of those wristbands to the head of security herself. Bright red, easy to spot. 1 per cleared person, she said. If it rips, they're out. I walked to the ballroom floor with Oren, who showed me the full cue sheet. This is your timeline now, he said. Every track had a lock. The rogue playlist Kier submitted got tagged and filed under for dramatic exit only. Oren looked at me. He tries anything, it dies in the system. I shook his hand. Thanks for making it airtight. Back upstairs, I took the real rings, solid weight brushed gold, and sealed them in a velvet pouch. Jude helped me tape it flat under the center podium, dead middle. You'd never notice it unless you were on your knees with a flashlight. Before we left the suite, I passed decoy B to Jude. I handed decoy A to the officiant, already boxed and labeled, easy to reach when the time came. Mabel drifted through, camera strap across her chest, scanning angles. She stopped by the entryway and nodded toward 2 aunties who hadn't put their phones down all morning. If anything tips, she said, we'll have 5 angles before the hotel's own footage loads. I gave her the updated guest list with a little star next to table 29. She laughed. Close, but not in the shot. Got it. Eulalie took a clipboard and went straight to the catering lead. No red wine near the photo area, she said. Only whites and sparkling. No exceptions. She wasn't asking. She was directing. Inez looked up from her phone and muttered, I love watching her work. Seating cards got reprinted that hour. Kier and his crew were now placed at table 29, far corner near the service doors. Good exit line, bad lighting, and squarely in Mabel's lens. The officiant got one instruction from me, handed over between bites of trail mix. If there's any ring confusion, just smile and keep talking. No one needs to know. He nodded. Not my first circus. Rowan handled the terrace perimeter. He walked the full space, paused at every place someone could plant a trip hazard. He found 2 snag points, old metal edging from a tile repair and one corner of Marin's aisle runner that needed hemming. He patched both with tape and tucked the fabric until it was tight. Then he stood back and checked again. By early afternoon, Inez had the full message log forwarded to me. Keir had already tried getting backstage clearance by texting the hotel line. Need the best man's access pass. They flagged it. No action taken. One of the concierge staff sent a neutral reply. Only credentialed staff permitted beyond the ballroom doors. I stood center aisle and looked around. Chairs were in place, flowers trimmed, quartet rehearsing. My team spread out like a quiet army. Everything we set, rings, suits, playlists, seating, wine, entrances, exits, was a wire waiting for a step. And they were walking right toward it. They were late. The spa car dropped them off just before the processional queue. I've seen the concierge's timestamp, and I've watched the valet camera still where Ashby stepped out first, robe open, socks on pavement, holding his phone like he just realized something was off. They didn't make it past the mezzanine. Security cut them off cold. One of the guards radioed upstairs and texted Inez at the same time. They're in robes? Magnolia or out? We're holding the line. Inez texted back one word, hold. Inez's assistant met them at the elevator bank and pointed to a nearby suite with a labeled cart and a printed sign, Gentlemen, for your comfort. That's where they found the tuxes. Ashby opened the rack, stared, and said, "What is this, circus mustard?" Clyde, dead serious, said, "I mean, they kind of slap," which told me everything I needed to know about how far gone they were. Beck didn't say much, just stared at the pile of jabots like maybe if he blinked enough, they'd disappear. Keir, of course, tried to rally. "Let's own it. Bold is the brand, right?" I didn't see that part live, but it was all in the hallway footage Mabel later handed me on a jump drive labeled 5 Clowns Walking. Sayer texted me while they were changing. Just one line. "I'm sorry." I didn't answer. I saved it. Still have it. Apparently, Keir made one last move right before heading downstairs. Oren told me he tried to bribe the DJ with a so-called brand partnership. If Oren just happened to slip in the wrong first dance track. Oren sent me a selfie later that day. Thumbs down, headset on, Keir in the background with his jaw clenched. Caption read, "Nice try." There's video, 2 different angles, of their hallway entrance. 5 men in bright orange mustard tuxes with white jabots, speed walking like they were late to a bad audition. You can hear a kid in the background ask, "Are those the clowns?" And honestly, that was generous. They reached the ballroom doors right as the string quartet hit their processional cue. Security checked each wristband like it was a music festival. Beck forgot his and had to dig through a robe pocket in front of 2 servers and a bridesmaid. He looked like he wanted the floor to eat him. The floor wasn't that kind. Inside, Mabel caught their entrance clean. Photo sequence, high res, 3 angles. Keir had the kind of smile that looks painted on. Ashby kept tugging the jabot at his throat. Beck's eyes darted like he was begging someone to make the next call for him. Somewhere between their walk to the table and the first reading, Clyde tried to reroute a tray of red wine toward the photo path. One of the floor captains, older guy, ex-military type, stepped between them like a wall and just redirected with 2 fingers. No words. Just turned Clyde and the tray straight toward table 11. Eulalie's seating plan had worked better than a lock. Table 29, far side, right next to two of Marin's sharpest ants. Both women smiled at the men like they already knew the punchline. One leaned in and asked Beck if he liked the color. He didn't answer. Sayer tried to walk toward Rowan near the terrace doors. Rowan stepped forward, shook his hand, then steered him gently back toward the table with just 2 words. Not today. From my seat, I caught a glimpse of them settling in. Orange fabric, uncomfortable shoulders, Keir trying not to sweat through his show. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep a straight face. The quartet played on. The room shifted forward, and the trap stayed quiet. Jude stood like a statue at the head of the lineup, hands clasped, not a bead of sweat on him. He was built for calm under pressure. Wells and Cormac flanked the aisle like they'd been rehearsing for weeks, even though they'd arrived hours ago. Rowan paced the back terrace with quiet purpose, checking the floor for anything that could snag the hem of Marin's dress. He caught a heel wobble from one of the flower girls during the walkthrough and repositioned her like a pro. No fuss, just precision. The officiant gave a tight open. Short welcome, no fluff. I stood in place, breathing evenly, eyes on Marin as she came down the aisle. Her dress caught the light but never dragged. I saw Rowan's shadow move just once behind her as she cleared the runner. Controlled, clean. When it came time for the rings, Jude stepped forward without hesitation. He handed over the decoy bee box like it was a sacred relic. Only he and I knew the real rings were still taped under the podium, and no one in that room was going to touch them until we were damn well ready. Keir hovered in the back like he wasn't sure if he should sit or stand. Both hands in his pockets, chin up, like he wanted people to think it was his choice to hang in the shadows. Mabel caught him in frame behind the vows, blurred out, over my shoulder, his expression unreadable. Exactly where he belonged. One of the servers passed near the photo lane with a tray of white wine flutes. No reds. Clyde stepped toward it like he was planning something, paused, scanned, and then peeled off in the opposite direction once he realized there wasn't a single drop of red in sight. Not one. The vows were clean. Marin's voice was steady, strong, like she knew exactly what she wanted and wasn't about to waste a syllable explaining it to anyone. I kept mine simple, honest, no flourishes, no tears, just the truth. The people who needed to hear it were already listening. Everyone else could wait for the slideshow. The tuxes weren't even a thought. Not one guest asked why my groomsmen weren't the original 5. Not even a whisper. But I knew for a fact table 29 noticed every inch of it. When we walked back up the aisle together, it felt like the ceiling had lifted. Like the whole room had been holding its breath and was finally allowed to exhale. I caught Eulalie's eye near the front. She gave me the smallest smile I've ever seen her direct at a man she didn't raise. But it was real. And I'll take that over a toast any day. Backstage, Jude checked the lectern and gave me a tight nod. Velvet pouch still taped, no touch. Keep it there until the reception, I told him. We'll do the real swap when it matters. Mabel sent me a still from her camera. A pre-ceremony shot of Clyde posted near a taped snag point on the runner. Rowan was in the same frame, just stepping into his space with his arms crossed. No words, no scene, just presence. That one shot told the whole story. As the quartet transitioned into the cocktail hour set, Oren waved from the booth and pointed to the playlist queue. I walked over, saw the file labeled Track 12. Only on my queue. Locked, time-stamped, with a backup key. Anyone touches that? Oren said. They don't, I replied. We shook on it. Keir tried making small talk with 2 of Marin's grad school friends by the terrace. I watched them smile for half a second, then turn back to their drinks as soon as they recognized him. Keir stood there like he didn't feel the shift, but I saw the pinch in his jaw before he walked away. Sayer hovered near the corner of the room, standing with his back half turned to everyone. He looked like he wanted to fold into the wallpaper. I watched him for a second, then looked away. I wasn't ready to talk, but I wasn't done with him either. That one, I needed to hear out. The music kept playing. Staff moved with precision. My new crew stayed locked in. And for the first time since hearing those voices through that paper-thin wall, I let myself breathe. Cocktail hour started like a held breath. Music soft, glasses clinking, laughter rising just enough to smooth the tension without erasing it. Keir drifted toward Marin once, slow and casual, like he thought he still had a lane. Eulalie caught him mid-step and turned her body just enough to make it a conversation intercept. He pivoted like it had been his idea to greet someone else. 10 minutes later, he tried again. This time Rowan stepped in, one hand holding a guest's plate, the other catching Marin's elbow like he was offering a polite family escort. Keir's path shut down without a word. 2 blocks, 2 clean reroutes. He should have taken the hint. Ashby found me near the edge of the terrace and gave me a slow shoulder clap. "You good?" he asked, like it was still a game. "Solid," I said, without blinking. He looked surprised, like he'd expected me to flinch or fake it. He backed off fast and didn't try again. Inside, a tray passed by with 2 glasses of red. An oversight, probably. Clyde moved quick, spotted it from across the room, and closed in like a linebacker. But the captain holding the tray just smiled, turned on his heel and carried it to table 11, where my uncles sat with folded napkins and zero tolerance for mess. One of them nodded at Clyde and didn't offer the glass. Beck tried to spark something with Jude near the gift table. So, crazy how fast roles changed, right? Jude looked up from straightening a stack of cards and said, "Family shows up." Then went back to work without missing a beat. Sayer stayed near the photo backdrop, hands in pockets, talking to no one. He didn't grab a drink, didn't hover near Keir, didn't move like he was part of it anymore. Later, I saw a video from one of Marin's cousins. There's Sayer palming a little black ring box and slipping it onto a dessert tray when no one's looking. It had Keir's fingerprints all over it. Didn't matter. Box was empty. Swap already blocked. Still, he tried to undo part of it. I gave him that. At the DJ booth, Keir handed a red USB stick to Oren's stagehand, whispering something and patting his shoulder like they were in on the same joke. The kid walked it straight to Oren, who didn't even plug it in. He turned around, handed it back, and pointed to the cue list. Locked, labeled, and bulletproof. No words, no reaction, just policy doing its job. 2 of my cousins, Ben and Ellis, walked over, gave me a quick half hug and asked, "You want us to walk them out?" "Not now," I said. "Today stays clean." They nodded and peeled off to keep an eye on the bar. Afterward, Inez showed me screenshots from the hotel's guest text line. "Why's security acting so weird? Thought I was sitting up front? Did the floor plan move?" Every message was frantic, indirect, and full of fake confusion. None of it mattered. The walls held. Mabel tapped my shoulder once and showed me her camera. "You'll want this," she said. It was a series, Marin laughing with her grandmother. The kind of full-body joy that doesn't need a caption. Nothing touched it. Not a whisper of orange in the background. No tension. Just 2 women standing in real sunlight. All peace. The room started to ease. The air settled. Movement slowed. I checked the time. Felt it line up behind my ribs. Jude caught my eye across the floor and gave a small nod. We were heading for the toast. The room quieted on cue. Jude took the mic first, no notes, no nerves. He gave a short toast, thanked the families, welcomed Marin, said something about me always measuring twice, even when it came to happiness. It got a small laugh, and a warm round of applause. Then he handed the mic to me. I stepped up, nodded to the staff, looked at Marin, then turned to the rest of the room. "I'll keep this simple," I said. "Sometimes the test doesn't show up as a crisis. Sometimes it's just your friends, or what you thought were your friends. And sometimes it's just noise through a hotel wall that makes everything clear." You could feel the room shift, not tense, focused, like people had leaned in without realizing it. "I want to thank our families," I continued. "The staff who held this thing together, my new groomsmen, Jude, Wells, Cormac, and Marin, especially Marin. And I want to name the people who showed up when I asked. Some of them on very short notice, some of them without knowing the full story. That kind of loyalty, you don't fake it." Then I looked toward the booth and gave Oren a nod. The lights dimmed just a touch. A screen lit up behind him, clean, white background with a simple title card. "Last night, 11:12 p.m., 11:35 p.m. The first clip rolled. Keir's voice, smooth and clear. "I'll swap in fakes. Float the idea that he bought knockoffs. He builds museum stuff, he's not made of money." Then Clyde, "Spill a heavy red on his tux. Make sure it stains." Ashby, "Pop a button during photos. Blame his tailor." Beck, "You think she made him sign a prenup?" Another clip, Keir again. "It's not sabotage, it's clarity. Marin deserves someone who thinks big." Then Sayer, small and tired. "Is this too much?" The last clip was Keir again, bragging about texting Marin, planting doubts, warming the room. I didn't talk during it. I just stood there with the mic in my hand and let them hear it. No commentary. The audio did the job. You could feel heads turning toward table 29 before they even meant to. When the clips ended, the screen went black. I opened the officiant's ring box sitting on the table next to me and held it up. "These were the ones they meant to sabotage," I said. "Decoy A." I knew what they were planning. Then I reached under the podium and pulled out the velvet pouch, taped, sealed, untouched. I opened it slowly, held up the real rings and said, "These are ours, kept safe, handed over when it mattered. We did our vows clean anyway." That was the exhale. The room didn't cheer. It didn't need to. It breathed out like one big shift had landed. Marin stepped up beside me, didn't ask, just kissed me on the cheek, and we traded out the rings. Quick, smooth, a 30-second redo. No spotlight, just a clean correction. Then I raised my glass toward table 29 and said, "Gentlemen, you look sharp tonight. Hope you're enjoying the chicken. I heard the steak went fast." A ripple of laughter hit the floor, just enough to crack the tension. Keir didn't move. Beck stared down at his lap. Clyde muttered something I didn't catch. Ashby sipped his water. Sayer didn't even look up. Oren queued up the next track. For one full second, he hit a sharp beat of the wrong song, the exact one Keir had tried to plant for my humiliation, and then flipped it hard into our actual first dance track. The timing was perfect. Some people laughed, a few clapped. It was enough. Keir stood up like he might say something. I didn't flinch, just gave a nod to security, who stepped forward at the same time. Keir sat back down. No words exchanged. Sometimes you don't need a fight to win. Mabel caught the whole scene. Her shudder never stopped, Marin smiling, my cousins clapping, Eulali's eyes brighter than I'd ever seen them. And at table 29, 5 men in mustard tuxes, jabots crooked, each of them looking like they wished the floor would open up and take them with it. By dessert, phones were already out. No one asked permission. No one needed to. The room handled the fallout by itself. One guest tagged another. A cousin posted a blurry clip of the screen. By our final dance, That audio montage had been chopped into 6 different edits with captions ranging from Wedding of the Year to Mustard Justice. I didn't push it. Let the internet sort itself. The name that stuck came from an old college friend who posted a group shot of Table 29 with a simple title, The Mustard Jabbo 5. It caught fire in under an hour. Someone pulled the still from Mabel's gallery. A meme page picked it up. By the end of the weekend, it had turned into commentary on wedding sabotage, fake friendships, and high-level pettiness disguised as charm. People love justice when it's color-coded. Keir tried to spin the story 3 days later. He launched a podcast episode titled When Loyalty Goes Wrong, a cautionary tale of male friend groups. Tried to frame it as a wake-up call about toxic bonds and blurred lines. The comments? Nothing but timestamps. People posting his own voice back at him. Full quotes, audio receipts. He didn't post a second episode. Ashby messaged me a week out. Man, I was out of line. Didn't think it'd hit like that. I'm sorry, I replied. I accept the apology. I don't accept the friendship. He didn't text back. Beck sent a long message, one of those paragraph-stacked ones that tried to explain how he just wanted to fit in, how he got caught in a thing he didn't fully support. I read it twice, then deleted it. Some things don't get fixed with words, especially not long ones. Sayer did it differently. He mailed a note to the shop, real paper, folded inside a catalog envelope. Said he should have stood up sooner. Said he knew it wasn't just a prank. Said he hoped I'd understand that silence wasn't the same as loyalty. I called him that night, told him I appreciated the truth. Told him if anyone asked, he should tell it the same way, plain, without excuses. Clyde vanished. Didn't post, didn't text, didn't try to explain. A bartender I know from Chicago said he's still telling people it was a prank that went big. Says it like he masterminded the whole thing. Like the tuxes were part of some comedy bit he planned. Of course he does. Eulalie stopped by 2 days after the wedding. Knocked once, stepped into our front entry, handed me a thank you card without a word. Inside was a single line, written in perfect block letters. You kept her day clean. That counts. Then she asked about the guest list printouts for thank yous and whether we had extra stamps. Like nothing had happened. Like I'd passed the test. Maybe I had. Inez got 3 new bookings within 72 hours. Brides asked her for the Harlan Protocol. She called me to laugh about it. Basic human boundaries and backup plans, she said, with receipts. I told her to trademark it. She said she already bought the domain. Mabel dropped off a print at the shop. Framed still, black and white Keir in full mustard tux, chin tucked, jaw clenched, jabba crooked. She hung it in the back studio with a little placard that read, Tell the truth. The lens hears it. That one still makes me smile. Marin and I sent thank you notes to the hotel and spa, named every staff member who helped, signed it in ink, real handwriting. When people show up for you, you say it out loud. If you're wondering about legal stuff, contracts, lawyers, cease and desist, there was none. Just a handful of formal complaints from Table 29 about privacy and defamation, which the hotel dismissed with copies of its updated policies and a polite note reminding them of the dress code email they confirmed. No threats, no lawsuits, no public fallout. Just 5 men in tuxes they didn't choose, watching a plan unravel they thought they could control. And a room full of people who knew exactly who they were. We're 6 years in now, house with a stubborn door that sticks when it rains, 2 bikes mounted in the hallway, and a dinner calendar that we actually update. Nothing dramatic, just solid. I still build exhibits, glass cases, lighting angles, panels, with words that explain something real. It's not flashy, but it lasts. Marin still writes grants and pushes money into places that need it more than most people realize. We work, we sleep, we wake up and do it again. Every once in a while, someone recognizes me. Grocery store, gas station, a wedding 2 states away. They'll ask, "Was that tux color real?" I tell them the truth. It was close. Ugly in person. Worse in photos. Keir moved on. He tried to launch 2 brands, one for wellness retreats, one for digital mentorship. A friend sent me a link once. I didn't click it. Ashby cuts hair in a different town now. He sent another apology one Christmas. Short, formal, typed. I replied, "I heard you the first time." Beck faded. Not off the grid, just out of relevance. Clyde still works rooms where volume passes for confidence. He'll always find places that reward performance over substance. Some rooms want that. Sayer sent me a photo last fall. His son in a superhero costume, tiny fist in the air. The message said, "Trying to teach him to speak up." That one made me sit down and read it twice. Then I just looked at the picture for a while. Eulali's never going to be warm. But she's fair. She asks about my work now like it's real, not just some phase. We get coffee sometimes when Marin's buried in a deadline. We talk about books. She pretends I've read more than I have. I pretend I've forgotten how hard she used to glare. Inez and Oren still text me the same way they did that weekend. Logistics jokes. A picture of a color-coded timeline. A photo of a gaffer-taped cable labeled, "Not today." Oren once sent a snapshot of a dance floor with the caption, "All clear." Mabel mailed us a framed print for our 5th anniversary. Marin's laughing with her grandmother, sunlight over one shoulder, motion blur around them. It's the only shot in our living room that isn't centered. If you're wondering whether I'd do it all again, the whole thing, the traps, the velvet pouch, the fake tuxes, the answer's yes, but without the gloating. Winning doesn't need to be loud. I didn't fix any of those men. That was never the point. I protected the day we promised each other something bigger than them. People remember the revenge. The viral clip, the mustard. Sure, it's loud. It sticks. What stuck for me was quieter. A rule that meant something. A cousin who drove through the night. A woman's mother watching me work like I might be worth it. And Marin, who heard me say, "I've got this," and stood there while I proved it. Sometimes at other weddings, I catch a whisper or a weird look. I lean over and say, "Think they're plotting?" Marin smirks. "Better check the tux rental aisle for mustard." We laugh, then we dance. Quick thing, can I ask you, if your friends sabotaged you, would you expose them or stay quiet? Tap hype, subscribe, like, and comment "good story" or your take. What do viewers gain from this story? 1. If you're hearing sabotage through a hotel wall the night before your wedding, hit record and start documenting. Harlan's 23-minute audio file gave him indisputable proof and total control. 2. Never confront chaos without a plan. Harlan used hotel policy, dress codes, and wristband access to enforce calm and accountability. 3. HR and event roles matter. Coordinator Inez rewrote the staff call sheet, created new entry protocols, and ensured stunt attempts were blocked before they began. 4. The decoy ring system, A and B, plus the real rings hidden in a velvet pouch under the podium, is a masterclass in contingency planning with legal proof integrity. 5. Table placements were strategic. Keir's crew got seated far from key visuals, near the exit, and in direct view of security and cameras. Visibility as deterrence.